discouraging. And I'll read it. I think he gave that to you guys. Maybe you guys already read it.
We did.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Nobody in the room.
Oh,
other than the
okay.
selectmen has seen it.
So he wrote to the selectmen, and it says, due to the lack of forward, so Bob Brownlee's on the search committee for the new chief. Right. Due to the lack of forward movement in this process, I will be stepping away from any further involvement. The attached documentation should offer some assistance to the hiring process once a decision is made to move forward. Good luck, Bob Brownlee. And
He has also given a list of stuff that has to be done. First, before, after you even ship.
yep, got it right here.
That's 4 to 6 months.
Yep, I got it right here. And so what I just wanted to say is that I'm disappointed that he's stepping down. We've lost a good resource. And I also want to stress that, and I know there's meetings happening and you guys are there is progress, but the critical point here is that we need to find someone, and I know we need to find the right person. That's always been said by the selectmen. But without full-time leadership as soon as possible, we're making a big mistake here. And I don't understand why it's got to this point is what it comes down to. I'm disappointed.
Is he disappointed because the process has taken so long? I mean,
Yes.
we've had money in our budget since March, and basically it was allocated, we knew this even as of January, and we barely sent letters out, what, in June? I mean,
Yeah.
it's been going on for quite some time, and I know you say you want to get it right, but from March to June, there was plenty of time, to start this process right away. When did March Howell, he gave his notice in the fall, I believe?
Well,
January, it was right at the beginning of 2015 that I left full-time.
not to rehash everything we've done, but we did seek some outside assistance in parts of this process that took some amount of time. The other thing, the one that kind of drives me nuts personally, is that we do a lot of this stuff by mail. We ask for resumes to be sent by mail, and then we ask for applications to be sent by mail, and everything's a week or two to get things back in our hands. And it's just been, that side of it's frustrating from somebody who uses email, and I'm used to solving things in 10 minutes.
This isn't the first time we've had to do a police search, so, the process should be getting better as we are in these situations.
Yeah, I
Unless
can't speak to previous
we are leaning towards a town that wants to just do maybe neighborhood watch and not have a police department at all. I don't, the consensus of it. I mean, it seems like we're ordering a cruiser, and we've been thinking about a police chief. I just wonder sometimes if we're heading in that direction or not.
Well, at least from my point of view, we are. I think the emergency management study group was clear in their feeling that they felt that we should be a police force of 2, 1 chief and 1 patrolman. And I think the 3 of us were accepting of that decision, that recommendation. And that's where we're continuing to move from. So right now, like I said, I can't speak to much that happened last week. Did we get anywhere with the 3 applicants that returned?
I can update.
Okay.
There was left that I was going to contact Troop C commander and have him sit on the oral board.
Right.
And we were planning the oral boards for the 3 applicants to be, I don't know the dates, but within the next 2 weeks.
We set a date for interviews pending acceptance of our invitation by the Troop C guy
Gotcha.
of August 31st to September 4, which seems very soon to me, and difficult logistically. So what'd you find out from Troop C?
I left him a message, yesterday, and I haven't heard back from them. So, the last thing I would like to say is, we need to start talking about a contingency plan, because this could end with you guys not picking anyone from that 3. Or you pick the best person out of that 3, and they don't pass the physical agility, or they don't pass some part of the background check. Right. So, there needs to be, the discussion needs to start about what are we going to do when we don't find a chief in the next month or 2. What's going to happen? And I've said this, maybe I haven't said it recently, but I'll say it again, is I'm willing to stay on part-time as the police chief until you guys find a new one. Okay? I'm not going to just leave the town and everyone else high and dry here. I can balance this. But if we don't hire a police chief in this process, we're going to have to speed things up. As department head, we can't continue with just me part-time, minimal hours, and Roger full-time. We're going to have to speed things up, whether we just hire another officer flat out and hand that responsibility over to the police department to find a suitable police officer for the department, and we can run the whole show and speed things up. We've done it before. That's how we hired Officer Landry. Or you guys, there's agencies out there that you can hire to find a police chief. I think there needs to be some discussion on what's going to happen if these 3 people don't work out.
We did have some of that brainstorming last week, but it wasn't particularly well organized. I think the committee accepted that notion that we need a plan B if none of the 3 guys meet the town's criteria, or the guy that we fall in love with says, you know what, I've changed my mind.
Right.
Or I need another $80,000 and move to Alstead. So, I just received an email that seems to imply that committee will be meeting again this Thursday instead of waiting, which I think is good. Let's do that. And up the voltage on the urgency meter and see where it leads us. I'm open to anything except hiring the wrong person. We know how to do that. We don't want to do that again. So somehow we have to balance as a community the need for haste, the wear and tear on our existing personnel, the gap in our community policing profile. We need to weigh that against the risks of acting precipitously to close the process and winding up with exactly the wrong person. And I can't give you much advice about how to do that. Having done it right once and wrong once, I'm sure my sample size is too small.
500.
And as Bromley's pointed out, even with all the psychological testing we can buy and all the background checks and all the interviews, it's still kind of a crapshoot because we're talking about humans now.
You guys have any ideas on what we could do if the 3 don't work out?
Well, I mean, one option to me is the immediate, is supplementing Roger with additional staff at his level or less than his level. Get another patrolman on. That to me would seem like the easiest and most cost-effective way to do it. Shy of just grabbing some hours from Walpole as needed, which is also an option there too, which we've discussed. Failing that, I mean, I'm open to, we've never discussed using a professional search organization or a chief search organization to do this. I've never worked with that kind of a group. Did you guys ever do that?
No. I worked with headhunters in another industry and found it to be distasteful and inefficient and extremely expensive, but again, that's a sample size of one in the wrong industry.
Yeah. I worked with lots and lots of headhunters, and your mileage may vary.
So the tip of the spear goes to Thursday. I'll be at that meeting if you need me to spin the flywheel or Do you need somebody of higher political rank than you to rattle the chain down at Troop C to get a commitment from them? Because I can call
You
them,
can call
or John Mann can call them. They'll return his phone calls.
No, he'll return my, I mean, I just called him yesterday, so give him another day and I'll call. I called again today, but he wasn't in the office, so I'll call again tomorrow and leave another message.
See, the problem with not getting his question answered is that the way we left it on Thursday was that scheduling 3 interviews in a day, less than 2 weeks from now, for people who may live a distance away and already have full-time jobs, is going to be problematic. So the haste is already bumping into the practicality of the process.
And we knew we did that. Do you have any suggestions? Just asking you personally, aside from what we discussed, a professional search organization or supplementing with another patrolman?
Back to what I said, we should consider hiring another full-time officer.
That would be your recommendation.
That would be one of my recommendations.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure that would be the 100% best recommendation.
Right.
But it would definitely alleviate the solitude of working alone for Officer Landry, and that position is going to be easier to fill than a chief.
Right, and the impact of failure is much, much, much smaller.
So if you go that route, then you give up looking for a chief?
I wouldn't.
Well, then what do you do if you hire somebody full-time and you find a chief?
Yeah, that's the case.
Fire Roger.
Well, yeah, you gotta.
No,
You could, what you could do is there could be a new position for part-time, which would be easier to fill than full-time police chief. And then who knows who would apply? I may apply to that position. Not assuming I can.
Careful now.
I may apply. You might get somebody from another town that may apply. There's part-time police chiefs. Erwin Ward was a part-time police chief forever. So, something to think about. Have a dual process. Another idea. And I don't know if this is, well, I'm sure we can do it. Put out another posting for a police chief and a police officer. And then see what you get.
Yeah, I understand what the goal is. I guess I'm kind of at that point where Rich seems to be, where now I've got 2 full-time guys. Do I just let the guy go that I just hired? If we decide that we do want to do that.
And couldn't do that.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's a good
Right.
Yeah.
approach.
And then we have, EMSG that's come back and said clearly, we feel that this is a 2-officer town, not a 3, not a 1.
I think that view is widely supported.
I think so too.
Can I just, do you have anything to add to that? Okay.
I say minimum of 3, but I wasn't privy to that recommendation, I guess.
And I would definitely bring that to the
Spoken
meeting
about it.
on Thursday.
The
Thank
other
you.
thing is putting something in, looking for an interim part-time person while we're looking, for something. There might be somebody, right, like you said, local, maybe from Walpole, that'd be willing to work part-time.
I'm more comfortable with that. Go.
Just say, like in the interim of looking, this way they know it's part-time, they might be just looking for 10, 20 hours here and there, and, who isn't?
Since it's been brought up already, what about the opportunity for a part-time police chief, and would you consider a position like that?
I would.
That's a good point.
I would consider it. But I would need to have a discussion with
I
Roger
understand.
and Penny on
Yeah,
this.
you
And
brought it
stuff,
up, you made the statement, so that might be a way to go, and you get the talent who knows the town, and then hire an officer.
The only way that would work is if we had full-time help for
Well,
officer.
I understand that. I'm just, maybe that works.
I like the idea.
Are you, so I understand what you're saying. You said the only way that would work is if you have another full-time So that would be 2 full-time officers and a part-time chief. But is that what we're budgeted for? We don't have, I don't think you could go that route without.
Well, you could get.
Well, it's September now, you can have all kinds of.
Get us money from the gravel budget.
If we get through this year, yeah, absolutely, we have a problem.
Right now, you couldn't do that.
As of January 1, then we would conceivably be exceeding our budget
Right.
For the next year, we would.
in 2016.
Right. We'd have to add that
Right.
position to the
Right,
budget.
that's what I'm saying, you gotta look at the mechanics of this. So,
And you gotta remember, you're gonna have a lease payment too.
If we have a car.
If you have a car.
Well, yes, although each one of those discrete problems has a discrete legal solution.
Bicycle.
Let's go with Thursday's meeting.
Yep.
You able to attend? Are you able to attend? No. Okay. So, we've heard what we need to hear, I think, to turn the crank. We know what we're doing about the cruiser issue. Let's move on. Thanks for that. Thanks for your candor. Oh, Rob, did you go to that meeting today in Pine Cliff?
Sure
Would
did.
you like to talk about it?
Well, David could probably talk a little better on that. He's in what they want to do.
Who was there?
They want the road narrow, that is what they want.
Oh, no, wait, who was at this meeting?
John Mann,
His wife,
Girl.
yeah, Joyce
Joyce
Earl,
Earl,
the gal from Southwest Maine,
yeah,
Forrest.
the forest and whoever was taking all of his pictures for him.
Southwestern Planning Commission, a consultant that was involved in making and looking over the recommendations. And members of the Lake Warren Association committee.
Yeah, there wasn't many people there.
Well, there weren't very many because the notification only just went out recently. But I know James was there.
Okay.
James was there.
But,
Not what they're talking
not
about.
today, she wasn't. She wasn't here today.
Not the, when we walked the road today at 3 o'clock.
Oh, I didn't know about that part of it.
Yes.
We knew about 4 o'clock.
Oh, no, that was after us.
Oh, okay.
So why don't you talk about your meeting first, then we'll hear about the football.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Well, they're concerned about all the siltations from going into the pond, into the water. The drainage is already there. The next step, which everybody feels is to pave it, to stop the siltation from going into the road, narrow the road up, and put the buffer on the lake side. That's it in a nutshell.
That's what the consultant came to?
That's, yeah,
And he came to trying to get the people on
our
Arbor
way.
Way to do something about their road, which who knows what we can. I don't think
We can't
I
compel.
don't think we can do anything.
There is a piece of statute that says that if your driveway or private road is repeatedly damaging public property, there is some relief, but it's really painful to get,
Yeah.
especially if people don't have any resources. And it's litigious.
And instead of having the road a crown, slope everything to the inside, so all the water, and put a berm down, so all the water would follow the berm and go into the catch basin, similar to what it does along the steep hills.
They actually talked about paving that entire, or just on that corner?
The dirt,
Just
All
on
the
the
dirt,
dirt.
all the dirt.
all the dirt,
All
that
the
half
dirt.
mile or whatever it is. That is their biggest recommendation, actually.
And would these funds come from the Southwest?
No.
Yes, well, part of it does, there's grant money to do a lot of it, but God only knows.
The study, the design, the consulting, but not the
Yeah.
pavement, not
He
the work.
said, he said probably not the paper,
Probably.
probably not. That's
Whoa.
how he
But,
did it.
yes.
Yeah.
So what I gotta do, I have to, everything I do to that road, when I go up there to rake leaves or pick up twigs, I need to keep track of it, because that all goes toward our side of the thing. So every time I grade it takes me 4 hours. The person, the grader, bag material, track it. They will give me numbers
of the equipment that I can plug into, and we have our man-hour numbers, so we know all that stuff. But anything, even on, like, this week, we're gonna put in a culvert on the backside of the lake for, on the mine road. We gotta cut the pavement and put it in by truss bells, because that pipe is junk. That even counts toward our part of it, because it is in that watershed. So anything, pretty much, I do anywhere around the lake.
So you've already committed to keeping track of expenses going forward sort of indefinitely.
Yep.
Is there a timeline on this proposal? Is there a grant
The
deadline?
grant will be, I believe, she said 2 years.
She said there's 3 different grants.
Right here.
Oh, I understand it. And they're talking, the whole deal with us trying to pave that would be the 3rd
Yep, yep.
grant, so I understand that.
But our match of whatever they're looking for is around $32,000.
With the total 2 years or each year?
No, for the total to match a grant that's coming in.
But that can all be done
Offset with his
stuff
stuff.
that he's
Yeah.
doing
Yes.
within that watershed.
Spend like
Right,
$30,000
and also every volunteer hour that goes out there. So,
Every time I go plow with snow, every time I sand it, every time I salt it. It's all town.
You get $32,000 by December 1st.
No, it's not gonna take long, that's what I'm saying. To have that part of it covered.
So do you
Whether
two
anything
gentlemen
happens or not.
think that this is rational advice, based on your experience with water and snow and lakes and people? I can see the paving part being really controversial in that neighborhood, and widely opposed and passionately supported by different households. Now, I don't have a solution for that.
But the dirt road in the sand, in the silt going into the lake is what is killing the lake. That's the bottom
And
line.
there's no real ambiguity about that. This isn't like global warming or something. This is like, here's your phosphorus count.
They've been doing all these
It
samples.
rained, here's your phosphorus count.
Yep. So,
It's interesting, I mean, I've been to a bunch of these meetings, prior to this one, and paving never was an option. What had been discussed was the tipping of the road.
That still puts all the silt directly into the catch basins and into the lake. However, there is a $800 filter you can put in every catch basin, that has to be changed twice a year. I don't like that idea.
There might be less controversial. Okay?
Yeah,
So-
but that's $1,600.
So we can proceed on the highway department's end with data collection. You guys aren't being asked to do anything more than just keep track.
Just keep track.
Okay.
That's
So
easy.
we're all agreed that's a great idea. Take it.
We'll have a folder, everything will be in it, it's done.
Let's do that.
Dave, they also realize that phosphates are coming from other areas, not just
Correct.
from that road. It's coming
Yep.
from
Every brook that runs into it.
detergents. It's something, it's not just from that road.
Yep.
yeah,
I can just ask a question, I'm thinking out.
How long do you say
How
the
bad?
lake will be dead? If we keep slow.
She said 30 years at the last
20
one.
to 30 years.
And this is for David.
Tax revenue
Um,
going down.
Since you already have the ditch, the inside ditch already there, could that be worked so instead of the catch basins dumping into the lake, that the culverts going to the lake be eliminated and that everything flows down into below the
I don't think it would hold that volume of water.
Eventually they get clogged,
Yes.
we have a bigger problem.
I'm just thinking of the pipe being extended so that it goes one way instead of across the road.
Blue Creek
And
instead
then
of like,
it could be open. I mean, it all eventually goes down there anyway.
yeah.
Okay, so, I'm just thinking of a diversion prior to getting into the lake itself.
Plus, I don't think there's nearly enough.
Now, that doesn't stop the dust issue, which, is another issue.
Yeah.
And absolutely do not put calcium chloride on that road. That's his.
Well, no, I'm not.
No, I'm saying,
I'm
not us
thinking
don't do
about
that.
drainage and having drainage go to the left instead of across the road and dump into the creek.
Right, but The days have passed when the town will be applying calcium chloride. That doesn't mean that neighbors can't for dust control. But we're not gonna do it anymore because the environmental penalties are too high for us. Right, Bruce?
So my only experience with this thing was I did attend one meeting July 4th. July 4th? I think it was
Yeah, you
July
went to the Lake Association meeting.
Yeah, the Lake Association, they had a presentation from Southwest Regional Planning or wherever they are. They basically said the same thing. To me, it's a good group of people coming together to do what they feel is a good thing for the lake, which I don't disagree with. That's the Alstead side of it. The Southwest Regional Planning seems to be we're very interested in continuing grants and maintaining
Our income.
our income. So that's kind of what I took away. There was no discussion whatsoever of paving. There were things about narrowing the road and dealing with the runoff and more like that. I think there were a few unanswered questions out of the whole thing. At least I had them. I think you did too.
No, Forrest, he was hands down. The way to solve this is pave this road.
That was it.
Just as a point of information, because I probably don't grasp, how is paving the road keep stuff out of the lake?
Because there's no longer a dirt surface that's washing into the catch basins into the lake.
Every time it rains.
Yeah, when it rains, the water's going, so where's the water going to come?
But it'll run off of pavement.
And the pavement's clean.
It's not into dirt.
And we're not sanding that road, we put a light coat of salt on it and clean right off.
Because right now, if you walk along, you'll actually see, like after today's rain, where it carved right down and went right in the lake.
So the phosphates are coming from the dirt and the dust?
Phosphates are coming from everywhere upstream. Every
Yep.
house that's got a mediocre septic system and comes from guys washing their cars outside or whatever.
That's all gonna go in
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, that is all gonna come down towards the lake. The question is when it gets close to the lake, does it go right in, or is it even slowed down to the point where it has to flow through more dirt and more of those phosphates and whatever else gets trapped in the dirt as opposed to going right into the lake? That's kind of the third grade science version of it.
I have a question. What are you going to have to do to the road in order to even pave it? I mean, there's no base there.
Actually, this is really good base shape compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Or maybe 10 years ago.
Because the mud was
Well,
between a 1-foot Indian, but now you get some running in it, but I think you could take it down 4 inches and put 4 inch of pavement on there and you wouldn't have no problem.
you wouldn't have any, it won't just be,
Just a year.
Well, if we ever get to that point, now we're talking about, a couple of years down the road, maybe a grant's involved, maybe not, and a warrant article on
Yeah, this will be
whether
whether
to pave Pine Cliff Road.
And that would solve the referendum piece for me, if it turned into a warrant article.
I don't know how it gets done otherwise. Otherwise, we spend all of our, how many miles is that?
it's a half mile about.
Well, you're gonna need that third officer wherever they are.
yes, yeah,
Just to patrol that road.
But we were standing right there in the road, they went by us at 25 to 30 miles an hour. So, I mean,
It's not, it's on my road.
it's not gonna be,
You ought to see him go down that.
it's
I'm sure.
crazy.
I'm sure. I watch them every day.
Well, there is another association meeting this Saturday at 9 o'clock up at the church, and they would like to invite selectmen to attend.
Lake Warren Association meeting, 9 a.m. Saturday at the church in East Alstead.
I cannot make that one.
Jane, can I ask a question? At your meeting, did they talk about paving the road? Interesting.
Because of all of the dust when the cars go through, they talked about planting along narrowing the road, having it pitched so that it doesn't go into the lake, it goes into the
Ditch.
ditches that are over there, and having planted
That was today too.
They said they
I just want to
normally,
make sure what the chief's being told is.
right.
They just figured that out
They
that
said
fast.
Was David's idea to hit the road and
Just,
Well, they've always said
Every
tip
tip
the road,
the
so
road.
it's tipped the wrong way, so I mean,
take the crown out of it, just put, a 2-inch pitch or 20 feet.
yeah.
Just to, it'd be basically flat, but the water would go to the inside versus the outside. You can put grass and blueberry bushes on the outside.
That's the other part of it, is the plantings that are there to help trap the
But,
phosphate.
but the other thing too, all along from Dillingham's and up there a ways, down to where the old bowl, well, almost to the dam, it's all undermined underneath all them trees, back in there 4, 5, 6 feet in places. That's why when we put the pipes in and all that stuff, when we did it, we put 7-inch minus stone all down that bank, and that stopped all that in the sections we were allowed to do.
Complicated. So the next action for us is to make sure a selectman shows up on Saturday morning. I think in this case, more to receive information than to impart it.
Yeah.
If you're not available, Rock, I'll go. I may be available. Let's touch base electronically. Wouldn't hurt to have us both there, but I don't actually know what my schedule is yet. I haven't been told this weekend.
Well, it's the
But
last
that would be great.
Saturday.
Oh, it's the last
Saturday.
Saturday.
So you'll be at the church.
Yeah, that's
I
your
can't
point.
go. I'm hosting another event. So
My email, so she sent.
it's you, buddy.
Thanks, Steve.
My email, it said I had an issue.
So, good. I think the right thing for the select board to do is to keep this one on the tickler list and follow it along. Now, that grant lady was going to come back to us with proposals for the short term. I haven't seen anything from her yet, but I have long experience working with their office, and they are relentless because that's how they make their money.
We had to create another one.
Well, actually, she'll get back to you now. She wanted to set up the meeting with David and with Catherine and Matt, hopefully.
So it's getting a little later, and Bruce has been sitting there very patiently. What have you got for us, Bruce?
Well, I'm here in reference to the disaster of 2005. People kept stopping me on the street and asking if we were going to do anything or whatever. The Historical Society had decided to set up our flood display that we had directly after the flood, the year after the flood, for the 10th anniversary. And somewhere along the line, Mary Ann Wolf caught me out here one morning and said that something about a plaque. And then the minister called me and wanted to know if we were doing anything. So I took it upon myself to have a meeting with Mary Ann and invited the minister, and Matt Saxon came. And we formulated a plan. And in the meantime, Linda told me that you've been contacted by Keith, Mitch, and maybe others as to whether something was happening or not. So this is what we have planned. We will set up our flood display over at the town hall, fire station, whatever. And we will be open on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. and Saturday, this is the 8th and 9th of October. Friday from 4 to 7 and Saturday from 10 to 4. And Matt and Mary Ann have taken upon themselves to get a plaque made to mount on a stone. And when we had our meeting here, we decided another white stone out here in what used to be Paper Mill Park would be appropriate maybe. And they're going to get a brass plaque. You may have seen it on Facebook or wherever she's been advertising for people to donate $20.05 for 2005. And she's already got upwards of $500, I think, for that. The plaque that they're suggesting is 20 inches wide, 16 inches high, cost of $849. And it would say something like this. This stone set October 9th, 2015, in memory of the 4 lives lost, in recognition of the property lost and damaged and the infrastructure destroyed. with gratitude to the multitude who helped with the rescues and the recovery from the Alstead flood, October 9, 2005. So that's what we've done, and if that's all illegal, we'll quit right now, and if it's not, we'll continue, and if you have any other suggestions or whatever, Matt will, at 4, we'll be open till 10 to 4, and at 4:15, there'll be a dedication of the plaque over here. And we'll advertise it, put it in the papers, and put posters up and so on, and there are a lot of new people in town in the last 10 years that might want to come and see the display, and some people that saw it 10 years ago might want to revisit it. And after that, dismantling it, it will be no more. So,
October 9th,
8th and 9th, well, 9th is when we'll have the
so it's
dedication
8th,
of the flag.
that you're gonna be open.
We're going to be open the 8th from 4 to 7
Yeah.
with our display over at the town building. And Saturday from 10 to 4.
And where will the stone be placed?
Right out here, there's a white stone with a black on it, we're gonna put another white stone, I think I've located one, and, it'll be a brass plaque, that or something very similar to that written on it.
Quick question, I mean, the display is excellent, I mean, we saw, are you gonna do anything to, you say you're gonna dismantle it, and that'll be it? You gonna do anything to, like, video it, or have some record of the display, because I think that, as a suggestion,
Just to be done.
So that it isn't totally, physically it'll be gone, but we'll still have some record of it.
Yeah, we can do that. We have 7,000 or 8,000 pictures of the flag.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything else? If that's all right, I'll continue along those lines.
Gentlemen, when were we supposed to dig up the time capsule?
Long time ago, that was 10 years, 1999. So 2009 we were supposed to do it.
Where
I
is
think
this
you
one?
got distracted.
Where is this one?
It's right down here, but we don't know exactly where it is.
Start digging. So, Rob,
But
you
it was
want
where the other thing was.
Jessica?
Remember the,
I can twitch for a while, I don't know if I can.
this, I believe the selectmen are unanimous in saying, go for it, Bruce.
It won't,
It
it
won't,
won't be anything.
it
big
sounds
deal.
about the right size. I will only add that John Lynch touches base with me every 6 months or so, and says, when's the thing and can I come? And I always say, well, it's gonna be October 9th, and of course you can come.
If he wanted to come and wanted to speak, that would be great.
He wants to come.
We didn't think we should make it a happy occasion, and we didn't want it to be a sad occasion. It's just an occasion.
I think you've set exactly the right tone.
I sure wish that those memorial lights were up.
Oh, stop
It
it.
will be. I had 2 things to accomplish this year. Got the fence up at North Cemetery, and those are going up next month. And David is
I
going to
can
do
stop
it.
this is my.
I hope that truck with the playground equipment doesn't knock him over.
She's 19.
That's it.
Thank you. Thanks.
That was easy enough. Okay, there's a piece of paper on the table. This is the last item I have for tonight. Our favorite hydrological consultant, Sean Sweeney, has been working very hard over the last 3 years to do habitat restoration for the lower reach of the Warren Brook, which really means the Mitch's garage up to the Griffin Hill Bridge-ish, maybe up to the Snowmobile Bridge, depending on how much money they have. There is a proposal floating around that you're all welcome to have a copy of from some contractor that he likes and trusts that is $60,000 more than the amount of money they have to spend from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, Moose Plate money. There's money coming from everywhere to do this thing, but not nearly enough. So Sean has long advocated for town participation. The town has essentially said, well, we're not that interested in spending taxpayer money on this. And so this proposal looks like we want to give you a bunch of really good material in exchange for hauling it away. And I'm just telling you that this is out there, not that we're going to act on it tonight. What we've done with that is put it in front of David for evaluation. It doesn't look like a good deal to me, but it needs to be looked at by professionals. examples, not just by hacks like me. It's sort of like Mount Violence. There's a bunch of unknowns there. That could have been a terrific deal, and it may eventually be a terrific deal for us. But without the kind of information that the engineers will develop this year, we shouldn't make a decision, because we're not well enough informed. So, that's it. That's my last item. If you'd like a copy of that proposal, Linda can fix you right up. Essentially, that was a $230,000 project, and none of that money being raised locally, except the part that comes from your federal income tax, which you can't quite see how it gets circled around there.
Well, the Conservation Commission gave us that.
So I don't know if I have anything to provide these guys with. Would like to meet on Thursday morning and have the regular meeting Thursday night, other than we've got nowhere really to go with this. You've got no time.
I have no time.
It's all right. There's no rush.
Just so much, I'm working around.
This project is not going to happen without our participation, because they don't have enough money.
I understand.
And
I thought they did get.
they don't have $230,000.
And this is the only bid they got?
No, the last one they got, the guy never showed up.
No, I know that, but I thought
Okay.
they put it out again. And this is what they
We don't need to rehash this right now. This is all federal and state money, and there's not enough of it to do the job that the state wants done.
My question is, what about the money we've already spent?
And I don't need to answer that question either. This is just about keeping the public informed about what kinds of issues we're trying to resolve from time to time. I don't anticipate any action on this for months. I may take it to a dirt consultant of my own just to see if they think there's anything valuable in those bits. We actually know what's there, because we put it there in 2006 and 7. We'll just follow the trail, but I want folks to know it was on the table, literally on the table. That's all. I think the politics of it are disturbing to some people. Why would we spend yet more federal money to undo work that we did with federal money in 2006 and 7? There's some sportsmen who think, there's never going to be fish in that brook again because the water level is too variable. Whether you believe in climate change or not, the water level is too variable. There's never going to be anything. Why the hell would you build fish habitat? I don't have answers to any of those questions. And Frank, I love questions like that. I think that's good public debate, so let's do more of that. But in the meantime, who wants to talk about anything else tonight before we go home?
Me.
You. You want to meet with us in non-public and talk about another part-time hire, or you want to do it in public?
Well, I really don't care.
Your pleasure, gentlemen. Says staff issue.
Well, if it's,
Not about a particular person.
Turns out it is.
then we're down by 1A.
I just had one quick question. Does Pine Hills have a watershed yet?
Pine Hills have a watershed.
What were they supposed to put in?
Oh, I think, maybe you're asking a different question. Maybe their water system? Yeah. They do have a watershed, Lake Warren is it, but I think the question you're asking is about the water system that was funded by,
Yeah.
anyway, it's not done. It won't be done this year.
They had to break it up.
It won't be done this year.
And that's only half of it, right? Or is that the whole thing?
That was another job like this one where the
It
bid
is
came in
moving.
higher than the amount of money, so they just kept driving the specs down until the two matched. It's not a happy thing. They're not, I'm sure the grant writers are getting paid, and eventually there'll be fresh water in every one of those mobile homes. But it's gonna be the most expensive fresh water in town by a little bit. And some of us are grumpy about that, but I won't say which part of me is the most grumpy about that. It's so screwed. But it is what it is. And it's like, it's like hiring a police chief. I mean, the consequences of doing nothing are so much worse than doing this bad thing the wrong way. I mean, they went through a good portion of last winter with 2 hours of water a day. They do better than that in Beirut. Yes, sir.
Some cleanup notes.
on the cruiser. We're not getting shaken down. The quote we got in December 8th was for 2015. There's none left. We waited too long. So we have 2016.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Understand, but what were we getting a quote on? We got the quote on the 15th,
Yeah.
correct, then provide a 16.
This was December 9th, 2014. We hadn't ordered it because it hadn't been approved.
Got it.
Then after it came out that there's no 15s left, they said, oh, we have the 16s, $500 difference for New Year's month.
And that's what I tried to say. but
So-
no.
What we're saying is we have 3 people that are willing to pay the difference to make this headache go away to the Ford dealership. The town will pay the original amount they were going to pay, not $1 out of the budget difference. Is that not feasible?
It is, I think we'll just pursue the legal advice with that as part of the question.
Yeah. And my ideal solution is that we get it for what's on the warrant article, not a penny more, and with no dollars out of anybody else's pocket.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm shooting for. I don't want anybody paying anything out of their pocket.
And I'm not drawing that kind of a line, I just want to close the loop on the legal advice, because we have this and we get this, both from reputable authorities, so I want to see the tiebreakers on this.
Well, the fact of the matter is, for my own safety, I am willing to pay the difference on the car. That's what I'm saying.
And I suspect we won't permit that, but thank you. Thanks for the follow-up. I think you're right on target. We tried to buy something that was no longer for sale.
So what I would assume that you want me to do tomorrow, because I'm not gonna have the lease until they know they're gonna give us the car. So I think we should ask,
We could talk about this offline. What are we doing with David?
It sounds like we gotta go into,
Let's do that. Because there's a particular candidate, we'll make this a private meeting. Yes, ma'am?
Meeting isn't closed yet, is it?
Not yet, but soon.
Well, the question is, something you said about our school. Are you gonna check with the legal department about that complaint with the, one citizen about his having?
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess at the time that you asked about this, you also probably should ask, are we allowed to have weddings, because we have ministers at that time?
Sure.
You might also ask, are we allowed to have friendly meals over at the fire department, which is town property, and they say prayers? I'm sorry, one citizen, and I guess I'm feeling very angry, and I'm not usually outspoken about my Christianity, but I am very, very offended, because I accept anybody, whether they're Christian or not, and to have one citizen make a complaint, and now we as taxpayers have to pay. I bet you I could get a lot more citizens down here that would say just the opposite, would be very, very upset that we are being picked on because we've had a worship at Violet School. It's not like we forced anybody to come, and we had over 100 people from this area.
I think there's probably a delicate way to say this. First, we're not going to spend any money, because we pay a one-time fee to LGC for infinite amounts of legal advice. Second, I think good stewardship of the town's affairs includes asking questions that make other people uncomfortable. And third, I think any voter is entitled to ask any question and expect the selectmen to make an effort to answer. So, please don't take offense. I certainly won't. You're not offended? Sure sound offended.
I mean, maybe I am being offended because I happen to know maybe.
People get outraged about all kinds of things, and let's not join them.
Well, I'm just saying.
I feel
Excuse me, one at a time, please.
I just say, you need to look at the big picture. You can't take one worship service. Did anybody have the choice of coming or not coming? There was plenty of other room at Violet for anybody else. Then you have to look at anything to do on town property that has anything to do with.
I completely agree.
Okay.
Mark?
Well, complaints when we had the union service down here on Miller Green. What was it, 2 years ago, Bobby? We had for the Centennial.
Sure, there are regular complaints about friendly games.
Well, were the complaints about the church service we had down here?
We had a worship service.
And nothing was mentioned then.
By the school.
I think it's good stewardship to ask for legal advice, especially when it doesn't cost us any more. You guys think we should remain ignorant of what the law says in this regard? I predict that the law will be quite 100% on the side of opening the doors to all comers. But I'd really love to see it in writing for the protection of the town going forward. I don't see that it's a reason to be angry, but perhaps I'm just not viewing it right.
It's a sensitive issue, and I completely understand that. I'm with Joel. I think that you guys are going to get the response that you want. What would be different is if the town came down and said, we will allow this type of church service to go on, but not this time. That would be very, very different.
I think that's why there's different denominations out there. If you want to go, you go. If you don't, you don't. In this case, this person didn't show up there and had the option to or not. So I think people just don't like things controversial.
Well, if there was like a Islamic ceremony there, I'm sure there'd be more than one complaint.
We've never had much trouble generating complaints in this town. And Facebook just makes it all that much easier to harvest them. Mr. Q?
So Saturday, there will be a selectman at the Lake Lawrence.
If Rock can't make it, I'll be there.
Good.
Otherwise, I'll be drinking coffee and eating cinnamon buns.
I'm right here.
Yeah, that's a
How are you?
question. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but I'm just getting home from Congress, so I'm late attending your meeting. But I'm curious on the Shaw property on Pleasant Street. Notorious Andy Young, whoever owned it last. I guess the government now owns it. And I'm wondering if taxes are being paid on
No, when
property.
when the government takes it over, it gets no more taxes until they sell it.
Is there any way the town can push for the sale of it? It looks terrible. There are neighbors now mowing the lawn. But it was a beautiful piece of property that's just going to shambles.
We only have an address to send, well, we don't even have an address. It took us, Gloria, a long time to even get an address of who owned it.
Well, it was in the paper, the government owned that.
Right, but she would be the one that would have gotten all correspondence on it, and she went through the lawyer to get it. Because we got in touch with the lawyer to find out when taxes stopped. We did get paid up to a certain time. But now that they have literally taken it over, we don't get paid until they decide to sell it. And I don't know who that person is that we would get in touch with about the
Or is
sale.
there some way the attorney can find out and push for a sale? I mean, it could sit there for the next 100 years and just fall down. The rest of the street looks so nice, and it's a shame to have a beautiful piece of property that we once collected taxes on.
Would you be willing to ask Gloria what the details are, and then the selectman can write whichever arm of the government? It's a big government. We identify some human being on the other end, we can communicate with them and see where we are. I agree with you, ma'am.
Well, we do too. We thought it was too bad because it's been taken off our tax rolls.
At least it's not full of school kids, huh?
So, we will try to find out and write to them and see what we get for an answer.
Yeah, I might also ask, do they have any obligations to keep the property in good order and conformance with local, I'd ask that question as well. Because it's now, you could say something, hey, it's creating a health hazard, it's creating, it's damaging other people's property values.
Let's find out who first. Maybe it's as simple as Federal District Court in Concord. Let's see. look for a report.
And if they sell it, do you get the back tax money back?
No,
No.
No, that's pretty clear, but you never know. So, any other comments or questions before we go into non-public?